What is up, everyone, and welcome back to Sacred Cards. I've been cooking lately with one of my favorite decks of all time, so I'm here to bring you an update to my Nouvelles deck profile. This is a fat 58 card pile that is incredibly consistent, plays a great grind game, and can hold a healthy amount of interruptions. This deck has no problem playing over 40 cards because it's so inherently searchable and doesn't sacrifice its percentages of drawing into a good opening hand. It's been a great week. I've done a boatload of testing and picking up new cards from my OTS store and making a ton of edits on a lot of different decks. So I'm going to try and churn out some updated deck profiles this week, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all again for the love and support for the channel. It continues to grow and I've gotten a lot of great feedback, so give the videos a like if you do and subscribe for more content. I'm still working on getting some better lighting and a microphone, so bear with me for now. I've got a lot of plans to upgrade my setup as I've been very motivated by each and every one of you. So with all that said, let's get into the deck profile. Once again, please forgive my French. As a proud Canadian, it should be much more fluent, but stick with me as I'm working on correct pronunciation. Starting off with the staff and cooks, I am playing 3 copies of your favorite waitress, Poissonnière de Nouvelles. This new card from Age of Overlord is one of your best starters. If it's normal or special summon, you can add a level 1 ritual monster or recipe card from your deck to your hand. It also has the ability to banish any number of recipe cards from your graveyard to special summon the same level ritual monster from your hand as the number you banished. Plus, if you tribute it for the cost of a ritual summon, you can place it in the pendulum zone with the effect that if you control a ritual monster, target a monster on the field, special summon this card, then change that monster's battle position. Good for triggering your ritual monsters or changing the attack or the position of a monster your opponent controls. Next up for the cooks, we have 2 copies of Bouillabaisse de Nouvelles. If this card is special summon, you can excavate the top 5 cards of your deck and add a Nouvelle card. If this card is targeted by a card effect or an attack, quick effect, you can tribute itself and 1 attack position monster on the field for cost, then special summon a level 2 or 3 Nouvelle ritual monster from your hand or deck. Now for the level 2, I play 2 copies of Confira de Nouvelles. If this card is special summon, you can destroy a spell or trap on the field, and just like Bouillabaisse, when this card is targeted by a card effect or an attack, quick effect, tribute itself and 1 attack position monster on the field, and special summon a level 3 or 4 ritual monster from your hand or deck. So you're constantly upgrading the dishes. Like I said, this restaurant works very well together. Next up, I'm playing 2 copies of Poilty de Nouvelles. When it is special summon, you can draw a card. This one has the ability that when any monster on the field is targeted by a card effect or an attack, quick effect, tribute a Nouvelle monster and 1 attack position monster on the field. Special summon a level 4 or 5 Nouvelle ritual monster from your hand or deck. Now we have the level 4, 2 copies of Foie Glacia de Nouvelles. Foie Glacia is very important for the deck because it helps manage the resources in the kitchen. If it's special summoned, you can target 3 cards in the graveyard and shuffle them into the deck. Once again, when any monster on the field is targeted by a card effect or an attack, quick effect, tribute a Nouvelle monster and 1 attack position monster on the field, and special summon a level 5 or 6 Nouvelle ritual monster from your hand or deck. One of my favorite cooks in the kitchen, we have 2 copies of the sous chef, Balaminière de Nouvelles. If this card is special summon, you can add a Nouvelle or recipe card from your deck to your hand. This card has the ability to target an attack position monster your opponent controls, tribute it, then special summon a level 6 Nouvelle ritual monster from your hand or deck. This is a quick effect if this card was special summoned by the effect of a Nouvelle monster. Now for the head chef of this crazy kitchen, 2 copies of Belgril de Nouvelles. Belgril is the head chef, and for good reason. When this card is special summoned, it negates the effects of all monsters your opponent controls. Then if this card was special summoned by the effect of a Nouvelle monster, you can tribute as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. It also has a quick effect to tribute an attack position monster your opponent controls, and if you do, special summon Hungry Burger from your hand or deck. Now, speaking of everyone's favorite dish, one copy of this beautiful collector's rare Hungry Burger. I seen this card in the display case on my OTS store and I just had to have it. It was worth every penny. This card is essential to play, especially when paired with our special recipe trap card, which I will get into when we get into the spells and traps. So absolutely love having this. Next is some more ritual support. I play 3 copies of Cyber Angel Benten. This card has so much synergy for the deck as it's perfect for tributing costs that can instantly replace itself with its own effect. If this card is tributed, you can add a light fairy monster from your deck to your hand, including a copy of itself or your copies of Diviner. Speaking of Diviner, I play 3 copies of Diviner of the Herald. I finally got my 3rd copy yesterday, so I dropped my copy of Cyber Petite Angel. And if you don't have Diviner, Manju is a decent budget option. Diviner has the effect that if it is summoned, you can send a fairy monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. Then it gains the level of the monster sent, bringing it up to usually level 6, which is perfect for this deck. Usually we're going to send a copy of Herald or Elder Entity from the extra deck to get you a search of a ritual monster or spell, or to destroy a card on the field with Entis. Another reason I like this card, because if it is tributed, you can special summon a level 2 or lower fairy monster, so you can get to a copy of Poissonaire to get you another search or any missing combo pieces you might need. Really powerful card that again has great synergy with this deck. So you got your 3 copies of Diviner. Next is a fantastic little package that has really come in clutch when it comes to keeping consistency of the deck. 1 copy of Incantation Candle, 1 copy of Talismandra, and 1 copy of Chalice Line. Candle can reveal a ritual monster to special summon Talismandra from the deck, and Candle can reveal a ritual spell to summon Talismandra from the deck, and Talismandra can reveal a ritual monster to special summon Candle from the deck. If Candle is special summoned, you can add a ritual spell, and if Talismandra is special summoned, you can add a ritual monster. 1 copy of each of these is perfect because you don't want to brick on them, and you are able to recycle them if you need. Chalice Slime is great because you can reveal this card, discard 1 card, and special summon either of these 2 from the deck. You will take 2,500 life points if you don't ritual summon this turn, but that never happens because I've always been able to get my plays going after resolving this effect. I really have enjoyed playing these cards, plus they make great tribute material for your ritual summons. Next, for some great interruptions to interact with your opponent and disrupt their plays, is 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 3 copies of Effect Veiler, and 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. These cards can all be swapped out for whatever cards you like. I've just been enjoyed using this lineup for now. Another great thing about this pile deck is it allows me to play more interruptions without sacrificing consistency. Well, that's it for the monsters. Now on to the spells. Let's start off with the venue itself. 3 copies of Nouvelles Restaurant. This card is amazing, and I love the artwork. Absolutely beautiful. When this field spell is activated, you can add a recipe card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can place a ritual monster from your hand to the bottom of the deck to draw a card. Plus, during your end phase, you can target a recipe card and any other card in the graveyard, place them on the bottom of your deck, and draw a card. This is great for recycling your recipes, your copies of Head Chef, Hungry Burger, or any other cards you want. Really good for draw power and managing your resources. Now, once you've arrived at the restaurant, you need a menu. So 3 copies of Voici la carte, today's menu. You present your opponent by revealing 2 Nouvelles monsters with different names from your deck. They pick 1 to add to your hand and shuffle the other one back. Then whether the card added was a warrior, add a copy of Meat Recipe, or Beast Warrior, you can add a copy of Fish Recipe. Now that your opponent has seen the menu, it's time to pull out the recipes. For this deck, the perfect ratio for me is 3 copies of fish recipe and 3 copies of meat recipe. Both these cards can be used to ritual summon your Nouvelle monsters, although if you special summon Bouillabaisse with your copy of Fish Recipe, you can add a copy of Meat Recipe from your deck to your hand. Meat Recipe is the same effect, except when you special summon Confira, you can change all defense position monsters your opponent controls to attack position, which is really good for this deck because we want them in attack position so we contribute them for a cost. Now that we have our meals going, sometimes there's conflict in the kitchen, which is why we play 3 copies of Concours de Cuisine, Culinary Confrontation. This card lets you choose 1 Nouvelle Pendulum monster and 1 Pâtissier Pendulum monster from your hand, deck, or extra deck. Special summon 1 monster to each field. Usually you summon Poissonnaire to your side of the field to get its search effects, then Pâtissier to your opponent's field. If I'm going first, I like to put this card in their extra monster zone to block them or force them to use it. This card also has the ability that during your main phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard and increase the attack of one of your monsters by 200 points for each recipe card in the graveyard. This can really help you attack for game or getting over problematic monsters. Next, for more ritual search support, I play 3 copies of pre-preparation of rites and 3 copies of preparation of rites. I like pre-prep because it lets you add a ritual spell from your deck, then add a ritual monster listed in its text to get a copy of Fish Recipe along with your copy of Bouillabaisse, or Meat Recipe with your copy of Confira. Being able to search 2 cards from your deck is just really good in my opinion. Preparation of Rites is also really good because it's not once per turn. You can add any ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can add a ritual spell from your graveyard back to your hand. Just really good cards to get to the ones you want to see to make the meals you need. Now, before we get to the traps, I'm also playing 1 copy of Called by the Grave. Just an all-around really good card to have access to as you do a lot of searching and it's really powerful in any matchup, so it makes sense to play it. That's it for the spells. Now for the traps, we're only playing 2 traps in 1 copy of Chef's Special Recipe and 1 copy of Recette de Personnel Staff Recipe. This is another ratio I'm really happy with that performed very well throughout testing. Both of these cards are very searchable. Chef's Special Recipe is a counter trap that when a spell trap or monster effect is activated while you have a Nouvelle ritual monster, you can negate that effect, then destroy that card if you control a monster that was special summoned by the effect of a Nouvelle monster. It also has the ability that if Hungry Burger is special summoned, you can banish this card from the graveyard and tribute as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. Staff Recipe is really good, but I think you only need 1 copy as it's a continuous trap that is very searchable and easy to recycle should you need. It can target a ritual monster you control and special summon a Nouvelle token, level 1, 50 attack and defense. This token's level becomes the level of the monster you targeted. It's really good for triggering your ritual monster's effect. It also lets you send this card from your spell trap zone to ritual summon a monster from your hand by tributing monsters from your hand or field that equals the level of the monster you want to summon. Well, that is it for the main deck. Now moving on to the extra deck. The extra deck can play a lot of whatever you like, but there's a few cards I consider to be essential. One of them being 2 copies of Pâtissier Couverture. It pairs well with your copy of Culinary Confrontation. I like having 2 in case I open more copies of Confrontation. Usually you will be giving this card to your opponent so you can get the effects of your copies of Poissonnaire. Next, I like to play 2 copies of Elder Entity Entis and 2 copies of Herald of the Arclight. Both of these cards are great targets to send off your copies of Diviner. Elder Entity, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can destroy a problematic card on the field. And Herald, if Herald is sent, you can add a ritual monster or ritual spell from your deck to your hand. You can just as well synchro summon Herald to negate and destroy a spell, trap, or monster effect. The other two synchro monsters I play is one copy of F.A. Dawn Dragster and one copy of Baron de Fleur. Dragster is nice because it gains attack equal to its level times 300, inflicts piercing battle damage, and also has the ability that once per turn you can decrease its level by 2 to quick effect negate a spell, trap, or effect your opponent controls and destroy that card. Baron can be made with your copies of Diviner as a negate for your opponent and to destroy cards on their field. Just an all-around good card to have access to. The lone Xyz monster I play is one copy of Constellar Tomley M7. It's a rank 6 monster that has the ability to detach material, then target a monster on the field or in either graveyard, return that target to the hand. Just good for bouncing a problematic monster. Next, for the Link monsters, the only 3 I find are essential is 2 copies of Dynamondo and 1 copy of Salamangreat Almirage. Dynamondo is an insanely good card for this deck. I absolutely love its effect that if it is special summoned, you can target a card on the field and 1 ritual monster in the graveyard, shuffle them back into the deck. It also has the ability that during your opponent's turn, quick effect, tribute this card, then target a ritual monster in your graveyard and either special summon it and add it back to your hand. Almirage is a great option to have because you can make it with your normal summons of Poissonnaire or Diviner of the Herald. The nice thing about this card is you can use its quick effect to target your ritual monsters, which can then trigger its effect to tribute your opponent's monsters for cost and level up into another chef. For the last monsters I play in the extra deck is 1 copy of Cross Sheep, 1 copy of IP Masquerena, and 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Cross Sheep is good to have access to because if you ritual summon to a zone it points to, you can draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. If you synchro summon, you can have all monsters you control gain 700 attack, and if you Xyz summon, you can have all monsters your opponent control. Sorry, what did I say there? If you synchro summon, you can have all monsters you control gain 700 attack, and if you Xyz summon, you can have all monsters your opponent controls lose 700 attack. IP is here for going into your copy of Nightmare Unicorn. With IP, you can link summon during your opponent's turn to make Unicorn and use its effect to shuffle back a card your opponent controls into the deck while having it protected by destruction effects. Well, that is it for the deck profile. I really hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything you like or don't like, feel free to leave me a comment telling me what you think. Be sure to like the video if you did and subscribe for more content. Thank you all for your support and enjoy the Sacred Cards. See you all in the next one.